What's the difference between Reno and Las Vegas? A question I've always asked myself, and I've been to Vegas 100 times or more, but this is my first time in Reno a month ago as I was on my way to a conference in Lake Tahoe. I decided instead of flying into Sacramento, let me fly into Reno and spend a couple days there so I can tell you all about it. So I'm going to compare and contrast these two cities in 14 different areas. And first, let's go ahead and start with the history. So we'll start with the history of Reno right here. People started settling into Reno in the mid-1850s, really as a waypoint to support the miners on their way to the gold rush. Certainly, Native Americans had been in both areas for thousands of years, but the gold rush in California is what put Reno on the map. But what really put it on the map was not the gold rush, but it was the discovery of silver around Reno. And in 1868, Reno became an actual town named after Union Civil War General Jesse Lee Reno when the Transcontinental Railroad reached Reno. Became popular as a place for quickie divorces in the 1900s based on liberal divorce laws, but in 1931, that's when the state of Nevada, home to both Reno and Las Vegas, legalized gambling, forever changing the face of Reno and Vegas. And eventually Reno got this nickname, the biggest little city in the world, really comparing Reno and Vegas, as there's so much stuff in Reno, but it's such a small little place. Okay, so let's talk about the history of Las Vegas now. So Las Vegas, you might not believe it. Where did the name come from? Las Vegas was originally a lush marsh fed by rivers, eventually drying into a desert landscape. Spanish explorers, when they arrived into the valley in the 18th century, they named the area Las Vegas, Spanish for the meadows, due to the presence of those natural springs. The railroad arrived in 1905, significantly later than in Reno, there in Vegas, and a small settlement sprang up around the railroad depot. The construction of the Hoover Dam, the big power plant in the area in the 1930s, spurred the growth in Vegas. 1931, we've got that Nevada legalizing gambling laws, but Las Vegas was much more aggressive than Reno on capitalizing on the opportunity, really supporting large-scale development and casinos and entertainment, and famously, or infamously perhaps, organized crime figures from the East Coast really saw Las Vegas' potential and invested heavily in the growth of this town. After World War II, Vegas boomed due to its focus on family-friendly entertainment alongside gambling. That's where we see the rise of today's iconic hotels like the Flamingo and the Caesars Palace. The mob's influence eventually declined as corporate ownership of casinos increased. And today, we really see Las Vegas as a place with mega resorts, extravagant shows, and a focus definitely on non-gambling attractions to attract a wider audience. Really, many people say the defining thing between Vegas and Reno was the construction of the Las Vegas Strip, really this walkable place that has all these casinos in one spot that just makes it a destination like no other. All right, so that's a little bit about the history of these two towns. Let's talk about their location. So they're both in Nevada, but they're actually like pretty far apart. To drive from Las Vegas to Reno will take you about 7 hours. It is about 400 miles, or if you were to fly, it's about a 1 hour flight. Las Vegas, down there at the bottom where the pin is much closer to Los Angeles, and then Reno is much closer to San Francisco. Definitely, these two Nevada towns are definitely intertwined with their California sister cities. All right, let's talk about the size of these two cities. How big are they? Las Vegas has about 3 million people in the metropolitan area. It is definitely a big city and has everything that comes with big cities, including lots of great restaurants, amenities, all that stuff, and crime and traffic and pollution and all of those things too. Reno, much smaller metropolitan area, 500,000, 500,000 people in and around the Reno metropolitan area. Definitely much more of a small city feel, though for a 500,000 person city, I will say it does have more perhaps homelessness issues than I think many other cities of that population would have around the country. Though, because it is smaller, definitely things like the traffic in the air are a lot better in Reno. All right, comparing these two in the fourth area, which is how easy are they to get in? And this is where we really start to compare these, and we have winners or losers, which one's better or worse. By the way, and I know on the live stream, we've got some people that have opinions on Reno, have lived in Reno. I see Smitha right here says, Reno sucks. I am moving back to Vegas. Smitha, tell us why. Tell us why Reno sucks. Or at least Reno is not a great place to live in. And so Smitha says that they were in Vegas for 40 years and have been in Reno for about the past 6. Piggy says Reno casinos are 75% less crowded, making getting in a restaurant easier, as well as getting in your hotel room. On the other hand, all seem very ordinary, but at least the temperatures are much better. Indeed, those are some good points. And Smitha says there's no good food in Reno. All right, we'll talk more about that when we get to the food ranking section. So, on the notion of getting in, if you're like coming from around the world to visit Vegas and Reno, how easy are they to get into? Las Vegas has a major airport. The international airport in Las Vegas has flights from pretty much every major big city airport in the world, so it is very easy to get into Las Vegas. Although some might say the airport, because it's so huge, is actually hard to get around the airport. And sometimes people miss the fact that one of the big carriers in Las Vegas is Southwest Airlines, which if you're searching from outside on like Expedia or things like that, you might not find Southwest flights listed. But within the US, if you go to Southwest Airlines or even Google Flights now, they list Southwest Airlines flights. That's a great way to get in and out of Vegas through their airport. Vegas is also 4 hours from Los Angeles. And I don't know if this is a hard number, but I would say at least half the tourists that go to Las Vegas come in from Southern California. So 4 hours from Los Angeles or 5 hours from San Diego is a big way people get to and from Vegas. There are no trains to Vegas. Even though there was a train that went there, there's currently no passenger train service to Las Vegas. All right. Reno, right here, which I should have had this picture up of Las Vegas when I was talking about Vegas. That's the airport in Vegas. But here, Reno with the Silver Legacy Casino. This is a casino, in fact, the newest casino in Reno, really themed after that discovery of silver. Reno is a much smaller, I would describe it as a regional airport. It's really kind of a quaint airport. I did a walking tour of the airport, yet to be published, but to walk from one end of the gate areas to the other end of the gate areas, I think I could walk the whole airport and all the gates in about 15 minutes. So it is pretty small. Slot machines in the airport in Reno, just like in Vegas. So you got that going for you if you have a long amount of time to wait for your next flight. The big drive area to Reno is San Francisco. It is 4 hours from San Francisco driving, about 1 hour from Lake Tahoe. And yes, you can actually take the train into Reno. There's one train a day that runs basically from San Francisco to Chicago on that line. So one train either way. That is a +1 for Reno, but if you're coming in the winter, sometimes the Interstate 80 is closed from San Francisco. So overall, Vegas is much easier to get into. All right. Whoop. And there you go. Slot machines in the Reno airport as well. Okay. Let's talk about the weather in these two cities. And this is where they really start to diverge considerably. Even though you might think of Nevada as an entirely desert state, these two cities have very different climates. Las Vegas is, by the way, this is the pool at Caesar's Palace. Las Vegas is definitely famous for its excruciating, scorching summers with average highs that exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius for several months in the summer. Winters in Vegas are generally mild, maybe even cold, but not really cold. Generally, the highs stay above 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter or 10 degrees Celsius. and it very rarely rares. It very rarely rares. It very rarely rains in Las Vegas. What about Reno? Reno is an interesting climate because it's a very high elevation, and so it has a desert mountain climate, like a high desert climate. So the summers are hot in Reno, but as hot as around the mid 80s Fahrenheit. So like probably a full 30 degrees Fahrenheit cooler as the high temperature in Reno than in Vegas, or around 30 degrees Celsius. Winters are colder in Reno than in Vegas. Reno does get snowfall, with the average highs hovering around 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. And Reno definitely receives much more rain than Vegas does. So which one's for you? If you prefer hot and sunny weather 9 months out of the year, Vegas might be a better choice. Certainly if you're looking for a pool vacation, it's going to be better there in Vegas. However, if you enjoy cooler summers, if you enjoy snow in the winter, this is a shot from when I was there just a month ago, and you could see still snow up in the mountains. I think Reno, you can have that winter wonderland experience that you're definitely not going to have in Las Vegas, and really you can have that winter wonderland really right nearby in Lake Tahoe, where there's skiing and snowboarding and all those sorts of things. And so I think today Reno attracts much more of the people who actually like the outdoors or outdoorsy, where Vegas tends to not be a very outdoorsy town. You generally want to be inside in Vegas most of the time. Kathy says, when I was in Vegas in 1994, it reached 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It was so hot, you could probably have cooked an egg on the street. It does get very hot. TH had the luck of being in Vegas when there was snow in a hurricane. All right, well, lucky you, TH. Yes, it does snow every once in a while in Vegas, but really super rarely accumulates. Curl says, now I want to check out Reno. I've been to Vegas, but ready for Reno after watching this video. I mean, if you've been to Vegas a lot, just like me, it was absolutely interesting to visit this town and see how many things are similar, but how many things are actually so very, very different. Codgeville says, I bet winter in Vegas is nice. Winter is my favorite time to go to Vegas. You can, if you watch my video that I did at New Year's Eve, I walked the entire Las Vegas Strip from Mandalay Bay to the Stratosphere. Really only something you want to do in winter, because in the summer, you would melt along your way. Melt along the way. And Brandon says, it sounds way better than dealing with triple-digit heat constantly during the summer. Okay, so let's go to number 6 that I want to compare these two towns, which is just like the general vibe. Like, what's the vibe of being there? And although they are both gambling destinations, both cities in the same state, they have very different vibes. One of my favorite things about Las Vegas is the Strip and downtown, and that they kind of connect-ish into each other. You can really ditch your car when you go to Vegas and just explore the resorts, the casinos, the fountains, the volcanoes for at least a little while now. But it does have that, like, I like travel destinations where I don't have to always be on 4 wheels. Maybe as someone who comes from Southern California in my car all the time, when I can get rid of it, I like it. And Las Vegas also has really invested heavily from a tourism department perspective, and also just I feel like the marketing departments of the significant players in Vegas to really cultivate a glamorous reputation and the ultimate escape and playground for adults and families too. But in Vegas, you'll see people dressed up for a night on the town, out to kill, whether it's in a suit or a tuxedo or a sequined dress. Not really something I saw in Reno. In Reno, I did see people that were dressed up in like bowling shirts for a bowling competition, though. But that was about as nice as people got dressed up. I mean, who am I? I'm not like bagging on any of these people. Like, why aren't you dressing up nicer? Because, you know, I'm in Vegas and this is all I wear. But just saying, there are a lot of people that do bring a much nicer attire to Vegas. Okay. So Reno has a downtown, and then I wouldn't really call it the Strip, but they've got this like business street that has some of the other casinos on it. The downtown Reno has some similarities to Vegas downtown. You've got city blocks with a casino per block, roughly, and like a main street in it that has this sign on it. There's a couple of these Reno, biggest little city in the world signs, but this one is along the main street in downtown. But yeah, many of the older original casinos in Reno are gone, defunct. Like places that are like, how long has this been out of business? Apparently, Reno like went through kind of like a blight teardown thing where they've torn down like 50 blocks of their downtown because it was just awful. And so downtown Vegas can be sketchy, but I'm here to tell you Reno is more sketchy. I'm usually a pretty brave person when it comes to braving urban life. But I was, when I was out vlogging on the streets of downtown Reno, there were definitely moments where I was like, I need to back myself up to a wall to make sure nobody can sneak up on me while I have this camera. There's no Fremont Street experience in downtown Reno to like bring a lot of tourists or like life to the area. And so once the sun goes down, even though the casino lights turn on, it's not that great. I was out for a bike ride. I rented a bike. We'll talk about that more in the getting around section. I was renting a bike and I was riding it around downtown, and there were some security guards in front of like City Hall. And like I commented, I'm like, oh, it's a nice day, and they're like, yeah, it is, but like just be careful after sunset. Things get a little crazy out here. I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for the tip. I appreciate that. Now, what is interesting about downtown Reno, there are 3 major casinos in downtown known as the Row. It is Silver Legacy, the one I mentioned earlier, that's the newest casino in Reno. The El Dorado Casino, considered one of the original in Reno. And the Circus Hotel. Yes, of similar name to the one in Las Vegas, but not of similar ownership. Okay, so I like the vibe in Vegas better. But if you're looking for, I might describe it as more relaxed or less stressful, where like, bowling attire, anything goes, then Reno might be the place for you. I'm thirsty. What am I drinking today? Today I'm drinking this green tea in this bottle by Colo, is what it says right here. I picked this up in Westfield Century City that we were at yesterday. Single origin, cold brew, and it has tasting notes on it. It says this tea tastes like cucumber, fresh grass, and sweet corn. All right, there we go. Here we go. I can taste the grassy flavor. It tastes like a freshly mowed lawn. There's nothing better than a freshly mowed lawn. Stern Shadow says, those 3 casinos all being connected, they're connected via like a 2nd-story bridge. Yes, which is very handy for not going outside. And I feel like they're connected at that level so that you don't have to go outside because you don't want to, not because of the weather in the same way as Vegas, but just because of the scene that is outside the casinos. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about 7 now. I want to talk about the casinos. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, if you're on the live stream, really appreciate it if you share a thumbs up with YouTube to let YouTube know that you like this video, to let YouTube know that you appreciate me getting past my audio problems. If you're watching the archive, you'll have no idea. Or if you watched it within the first day, you're like, Chris, that first 5 minutes was pretty rough. So thanks for sticking on through the live production. All right, casinos. The exact number of casinos in Las Vegas or Reno is kind of hard to pin down. I did like tons of searches to be like, how many casinos are in Vegas? How many casinos are in Reno? And like, it's really hard to count because does every gas station and supermarket count as a casino? And if you say, Chris, are there really gas stations and supermarkets? Are there really casinos and gas stations and supermarkets? The answer is yes. Like if you go to a Safeway supermarket, there's a casino in the back. And you go to the gas station, and in the mini mart, there's like 4 slot machines over on the side. So there's lots of little casinos everywhere. But by Chris's very unscientific approach, Reno has way less than Vegas. How many way less? I would say Reno has less than 10 major casinos, and Las Vegas has 30 or more major casinos. And the Vegas ones are all significantly bigger than the Reno ones. The last new casino in Reno to open was the Silver Legacy that we mentioned, that Martin Taylor perfectly tells us opened in 1995. So the newest casino in Reno is 29 years old, 29 years new. Where in Vegas, there are more and more casinos that open like nearly every year. You know, Fontainebleau just opened this year. Resorts World just opened a couple years ago. So they're new and they're struggling. But you know what? They're going to be great in a decade or something once they really get going. Las Vegas really tends to be dominated by these sprawling casino floors, extravagant themes, dazzling shows. Think opulent lobbies, celebrity chefs, and high rollers to go along with it. Reno tends to have more of a mix where like some are really big and then some are really small. The atmosphere in Reno is much less flashy and more relaxed outside in the casino. Las Vegas really tends to cater to a broader audience seeking more than just casinos, but also entertainment experiences. But even with that, with the gambling, Vegas has a wider variety of casino games, high-stakes gambling options, low-stakes gambling options, and theme park rides, nightclubs, world-class entertainment. Reno tends to go after the budget-conscious travelers who are also gamblers, who enjoy a more traditional casino experience. There were a lot of questions in the chat about the odds, and they tend to offer better odds in Reno and lower table minimums than compared to Las Vegas. Now, if you are looking for, this is the inside of one of the casinos in Las Vegas. This one was, what was this one called? This is the Atlantis. That is like the Lost City of Atlantis themed, but it has like palm trees and things like that. The most Vegas-y casino in Reno is this one, the Grand Sierra Resort, which interestingly enough started life as the MGM Hotel in Reno. Though all these hotels, it's like interesting to go back on the history and look at all these things, which I'm a nerd, and so I did. Like, there was an MGM Hotel. There's currently a Circus Hotel, not owned by the same people that currently own the Circus Hotel, but you better believe that the MGM in Reno and the MGM in Vegas were owned by the same people at one point in time, and same with the Circus. They were owned by the same people at one point in time, but over the years, they've switched, changed hands, changed names, but the Grand Sierra Resort here has the most, like, you know, buffet, restaurants, big swimming pool, arcade, and just like overall Vegas feel to it. Now, this one right here, I heard somebody say the Peppermill is their favorite. I found the Peppermill in Vegas. You know, Vegas, there's a famous restaurant called the Peppermill, but in Reno, the Peppermill is one of their biggest hotels. I find the Peppermill to just be all over weird. Like, the theme of the Peppermill, all over weird. In my Reno guide video that's going to come out eventually, once we finish editing it, it will go into why I think the Peppermill is all sorts of weird. But it's this like odd Italian theme, but they have all these video screens all over. And it was very red. But Grovel says, I wonder which city would be better to live in. I heard one person say they lived in Vegas for 40 years and Reno for a few, and they're going back to Vegas. So I don't know nothing other than that. Okay, let's talk about the hotels now. Like the hotel experience, not just the casino experience, but the hotel experience. So the hotels, the big hotels in Vegas tend to be the casino hotels, just like they do in Reno. They're huge in Vegas, like thousands of rooms, extravagant lobbies, themed on Egyptian pyramids, or pirate ships, or replicas of European landmarks here, like the Venetian. Vegas hotels tend to be pretty bustling with constant activity, not places to have a quiet time and relax. The Strip itself in Vegas tends to really be dominated by two distinct companies, MGM and Caesars. What's interesting about Caesars is Caesars recently merged with Eldorado of the name of that hotel casino in Reno that I told you about. So one of the original companies that was big in Reno, the Eldorado, merged with Caesars, and so now the big Reno company is also the same as the big Vegas company. Nice thing about Vegas is if you don't want to stay in the Strip or these big mega hotels, like all of the major chains have offerings in Vegas, Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, on the Strip, off the Strip. So pretty much options for the entire range of stays, whether you like to park close, park far, valet parking, not valet parking, big rooms, small rooms, you name it, you'll find it in Vegas. And there's plenty of great gaming properties and plenty of great non-gaming properties too. Reno, on the other hand, by the way, this is the Circus Circus, so I figure we should make this bigger. That clown there, it looks definitely more refurbished than the one in Vegas does, because this one is owned by Caesars of Caesars Palace, and so they've definitely poured more money into this Circus Circus. Less sad. I had less tears when I walked through the Circus Circus in Reno. But most of the nicest hotels in Reno are the casino hotels. There is not much of a high end in the other chains. You're not going to find really any high end Marriott, Hyatts, or Hiltons here. Think more of the extended stay and the select service stays, like the Courtyard by Marriott, the Hampton Inn. The vibe tends to be, I'm using this word relaxed a lot. I'm going to use it again, which is more relaxed and less overwhelming. The nicest non-gambling hotel that I could find was the Renaissance downtown riverfront right here. This is actually where I stayed while I was in Reno. I could use a Marriott credit card night certificate for it. I'll have a full hotel review of this coming soon, but if you're looking for a place to stay that isn't a casino, then I would consider this. Brandon says the Reno Circus Circus is good, and the Las Vegas Circus Circus is absolutely terrible. Yeah, what I thought was interesting about the Reno Circus Circus, though, is that on like weekdays, they have a food court that doesn't open until 4 o'clock, and the midway too, with the kiddie games, things like that, also didn't open until 2 p.m. or something like that. So Reno definitely doesn't have that all day activity that Vegas did, but yes, the walking through at least the Circus Circus, it smelled fresh, it looked clean, it looked maintained, which the Las Vegas one, the great part about walking through there is I feel like the carpet as you walk through the Circus Circus in Las Vegas today is the same one when I stayed there as a kid in the 1980s. So JK says if you want to get the high-end hotels, and this is absolutely true, there are a lot of high-end hotels in the Lake Tahoe area. Very true. That's where they all are. None of them are in Reno of the big chains. And Piggy says related to MGM Caesars, they're not really competitors. It's like the Dems and okay, well, we're not going to get into the politics, but yes, they're definitely in things together. Okay. Stephen Wu says, have the Indian casinos diverted customers away from Reno over the years? I'm going to say undoubtedly yes, and I think that's part of why we don't see as much investment into Reno as we do into Las Vegas. I think, frankly, the Native American casinos have diverted customers, the gambling customers, away from both Vegas and Reno. But because Vegas has so many more world-class food and entertainment offerings, people still go to Vegas. They still make the drive from LA, but from the San Francisco Bay Area, people well, if the only thing to do in Reno is to gamble, then why am I going there? Because it doesn't have the entertainment and it doesn't have the great food. But I haven't told you it doesn't have great food because we haven't talked about food yet. So let's go ahead and talk about food. Area number 9. What's the food like in Reno versus Las Vegas? Las Vegas just flat out has a much better, more vibrant food scene than Reno does. The food choices are more varied, more better, and more wow type restaurants. And it's a place where national chains, or even not even chains, but restaurants that are they've got one and they're looking to expand, and often will plant their second flag in Vegas. For example, Peter Luger, which has often been considered the best steakhouse in New York City, opened the location inside Caesar's Palace. The Bacchanal buffet in Caesar's Palace. Definitely the best buffet in Vegas. Definitely better than anything in Reno. Probably one of the best buffets in the world. That's the kind of eats you find in Vegas. Although, you're gonna spend on it. Now Reno does have more of the like old school Vegas eats. Like for example, here at the Grand Cafe at the Grand Sierra Resort, you can get the late night special, that breakfast night combo, 2 eggs, any style, hash browns, bacon, and pancakes, $9.99, only from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. But that was the kind of stuff that Vegas was made of back in the day that we don't see as much anymore. We've replaced this in Vegas with, egg sluts, like $20 bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. They don't cost that much, but things in Vegas do tend to cost a lot. And I like buffets, and so I gandered at all the buffets in Reno, and in my opinion, they all seemed fairly meh. Snow Bunny asks if there's any good dance clubs in Reno that you know about. I did not get into any of the dance clubs in Reno, but it did look like the Grand Sierra Resort had a big dance club, and it also looked like there was one maybe in the El Dorado. Speaking of the El Dorado, this is the inside of the El Dorado Hotel in Reno. And so this is I feel like the most interesting thing about exploring Reno is looking at what if a casino was built not by a giant conglomerate corporation and was just built by some rich person, or somebody who got in on this early. And I feel like you get things like this. You get fountains like this. There were just a lot of these things that I walked through and I'm like, I don't understand. It doesn't, I feel like Vegas, the theming is quite cohesive. You go in the Luxor and everything is Egypt, but you walk around these hotels in Reno and you're like, what? Where did this come from? It feels like a bad dream, as if I was tripping on acid. I don't actually know what tripping on acid is like, but as I see in the movies, or maybe I've had too much of a caffeine high and I'm delusional. Okay, so let's talk about area number 10, which is the cost of Reno versus Las Vegas. A plus point here for Reno is that food prices in Reno are much more reasonable than in Las Vegas. Now, Reno food is probably more expensive than your typical average American destination, but not by much. In the El Dorado Hotel, I got a 24-hour dessert counter that had pastries and things like that. I got a fruit tart and a bottle of milk for $7. Now, if I'm in the Bellagio at the pastry place there, or I'm at Caesar's Palace at Dominique Ansel, the pastry is going to be $16, and then a bottle of milk will be $6. So $7 for my evening dessert pick-me-up. It was a lot more reasonable than $24 that I would spend in Vegas. Las Vegas prices, particularly on the Strip, are take the Disneyland price and double it. The $7 bottles of water and the $12 slices of pizza. What about the hotel prices? There's big expenses on things when you travel tend to be hotels and food. Vegas prices can vary wildly, depending upon the season, depending upon the location, and you can get the Caesar's Palace Center Strip midweek in November for $80 a night. Or if you go there on a busy weekend, then it's $600 a night for the same room. Crazy talk of the range of hotel rates in Vegas. A lot of that's also driven by conventions that bring 100,000 people to town and they need a place to stay and they're in corporate expense accounts and they're willing to spend whatever. Reno doesn't really have that as much, and so Reno doesn't have as much of the wild price fluctuations. The hotel offerings in Reno are generally more affordable than Las Vegas. At the nice casinos, you're generally getting nice rooms in the mid 100s, $150, $200. Bizarrely, the Renaissance that I stayed at, I didn't pay for it because I used Marriott points. When I looked at the rates at that place, they're they can be crazy, $400 a night at the Renaissance in Reno, which I don't understand. unless like everybody who's staying there is on the corporate expense account, because the business people that go to Reno can't stay at the casinos, and so they can only stay at the Renaissance. I don't know. Didn't seem like a $400 a night hotel, but you will definitely find those in Lake Tahoe. Ivy says the Reno hotel prices aren't better because they still get you with the resort fees. All right, I mean it's like evil scamming, but I will just say when I looked at the hotel prices, I found them significantly less expensive than for like comparable casino offerings. Okay. Biggie says you can stay at the Flamingo for probably $8 a night. $8 a night in the winter, but they haven't vacuumed it since 1999. Thank you for the tip. The Vegas High Trollers, by the way, thank you for your support, and I love your icon right there. They said, I heard a big difference between Reno and Vegas is that in Vegas, strip clubs, they have champagne rooms, but in Reno strip clubs, they have meth rooms. I will read your comment out there, but I'll have to leave it to somebody else to answer that. You got some tears and laughs in the chat. So, all right. Okay, let's talk about getting around. Number 11. Getting around Las Vegas is, I'm going to say, super easy, although there's traffic, so it can be slow if you're going around at the wrong times, like Friday or Saturday night. But like if you're not like trying to like go far places, you're just trying to be a tourist around, I think it's super easy because the Strip or downtown, like everything is like walkable with those areas. Where it's not walkable, Las Vegas is a monorail. Las Vegas has trams between the hotels, between the Mandalay Bay, Luxor, and Excalibur. You can take this free tram from the Park MGM to the Bellagio. You can take this free tram. There's the Deuce bus, this neat double-decker bus that goes up and down the Strip. Will take you all the way to downtown. Tons of taxis, tons of ride share. You are not going to be without transportation in Vegas. The biggest drag in Vegas is the whole charging for parking trend. It's lousy. Where if you are trying to take your car between casinos, you'll be spending $20 to $30 to just like enter the parking garage. Many of them used to have like, if you're here for less than 4 hours, then it's $12. If you're longer, it's this and that. Pretty much now they're like, welcome to our parking garage. That will be $25 for coming in and breathing the air in our wonderful garage. Reno, on the other hand, is definitely more of a driving around destination and not really walkable. I did mention there's a few hotels in downtown that really frankly, they operate as one. The Silver Legacy, Circus, and the El Dorado, one hotel connected by bridges. I mean, it's three because you can book, but they really function as one property because they're all owned by the same company. The rest of the time you're going to be driving, but the good news is that there's free parking and there's plenty of it. Probably my favorite thing to do in Reno, though, the Truckee River that I showed you before, was to take a bike down the Truckee River. The Renaissance that I stayed at, they had bikes that you could take out, and it was really beautiful to ride down this river in the middle of town. I think Reno, if you stand at this river, can absolutely be more beautiful nature-wise than Vegas is. Kind of like in that one spot, Vegas desert doesn't have a lot of nature. The train hopper says the El Dorado used to charge for parking about 15 years ago. Even they gave up. So sad, train hopper, that they were like trying to charge for parking in Reno, but I am glad that they gave it up. Okay. Let's talk about what are the things to do in these two towns other than gambling. Well, in Vegas, there's a lot of things to do that I could name that are just many and varied. Oh, there's the bike. I should show you the bike. That was the bike in the Truckee River. See, isn't that beautiful? Oh, in Reno, you can like float around, like you can take like an inner tube, like a kayak, and go down the Truckee River. Like, I think that's pretty neat. Okay. This is now things to do. And I picked this picture of Vegas because, like, it's the kind of place of all the things to do to be like, you can visit a gigantic Coke bottle. It's like a Coca-Cola store that has, like, sample all the Coca-Cola sodas from around the world. You can go in the gigantic M&M store that's, like, 4 floors of M&Ms. You can ride a roller coaster. You can go in the Sphere, the world's biggest movie theater stage. You can go to the Mob Museum. You can see the Fremont Street Experience. You can see fire-breathing mantis dragons and volcanoes for 2 more weeks before they tear it down. fountain, the Eiffel Tower. Our daughter, the Curious Princess, the 4-year-old Curious Princess, has seen the Eiffel Tower in Las Vegas, as far as she knows. It is the Eiffel Tower. There are not that many things to do in Reno. Vegas, you could easily be there for a week and like not have conquered all the things to do just on the Strip. In Reno, you can reach the bottom pretty quickly of the things to do. I feel like one of the coolest things I thought there was in Reno was this place called Scheels. This place right here, Scheels, Scheels. Scheels is the world's largest outdoor sporting goods store. It is so large that it has a Ferris wheel inside of it. And by the way, what was super cool about Scheels, I was recording a scene for the Reno Things to Know video. Will come out on the like second level up there with the Ferris wheel behind. And as I've got my camera and I'm doing my thing and I stop recording, I then see somebody who looks like the manager walking towards me. I'm like, he's going to tell me not to record. I know it. He's going to tell me not to record. And he comes over, and that's actually not what he says. He says, Yellow Productions, I was waiting for you to finish. I love your videos. We went to Japan. I've used all your videos to plan my Japan trip. And I was like, awesome. I love this place. And you, Mr. Manager. So thank you. Keep it up. So it's me, Laura, says, I love that place. Yeah, it's a really neat store for so much more than just the Ferris wheel. But it's like if you're going to Reno and you're like, what should I do? Scheels. Visit Scheels. Okay. Oh, and bowling. There's like so much bowling in Reno. Reno is home to the National Bowling Stadium. Like the biggest bowling competitions in the USA. Reno is where it's at. This place has like over 60 bowling lanes or something like that. All right. Let's talk about day trips. And so this is number 13. This is the last section. We're going to compare these two and then I'll just give you my overall conclusion. So Vegas, a lot of places you can go as a day trip. Certainly you can go to the Grand Canyon West. Grand Canyon. Let's talk about this for a moment. I made a video about the Grand Canyon West versus the Grand Canyon. Heavily marketed for Las Vegas day trips is the Grand Canyon West, where you see I have a picture right here. This is not the Grand Canyon National Park. The Grand Canyon National Park, it's a 4-hour drive from Las Vegas, which you can do in a day trip. But boy, it's a pretty rough day trip because you're doing 8 hours of driving total. The Grand Canyon West, operated not by the National Park Service, but by the Hualapai Native American tribe, is home to the Skywalk, this glass bridge that you can go on where they'll take a picture of you for $40 or $50 plus the admission that you pay to go in there. But it is 2.5 hours from Vegas, so a 5-hour round trip drive, which is much more palatable for most Vegas day trippers. The Hoover Dam that I talked about before, you can like take tours of it or just go to see it. Another national park that's really close to Vegas that is worthwhile visiting. Along with the Vegas trip, you could totally do as a day trip, but it's definitely worth a couple days. There's also Zion National Park in Utah. Want to know what that's like? I got a whole Zion guide. You can check that out after this. What are the other things to do when you're in Reno? Visit Lake Tahoe. I say that because like everything in Reno for Reno tourism is like there's nothing just Reno tourism. Everything Reno tourism is Reno Tahoe, Reno Tahoe, Reno Tahoe. And I think Reno has like just tied itself to we're not a destination that many people want to go in and of itself, but there's a lot of people that want to go to Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is one of the biggest recreational destinations in the USA that's like not a national park. And so there's tons of people that are flying into the airport in Reno that is named the Reno Tahoe International Airport. Like they put that in the name of the airport in Reno because they want to be like, if you come to Lake Tahoe, come here. So I go to Sacramento. And it worked for me. Like I usually go to Sacramento, but this time I'm like, oh, let me go into the Reno Tahoe International Airport when I go to Reno. And so when you're in Reno, you definitely should visit Lake Tahoe. If you don't know nothing about Lake Tahoe is the largest, biggest alpine lake in the USA. It's like 15 miles. I'll get the numbers wrong because I didn't write them down right here. I'm trying to remember them from when I shot the video about it, but it's like nearly a mile deep, crystal clear blue waters. It's beautiful. to like just like drive around the lake will take you a few hours. Like that's how big the lake is. Lots of great hikes in the region, lots of great ski resorts that are there, lots of great little towns along Lake Tahoe. And if you're looking for the 5-star resorts, high-end hotels, you're going to find it in Lake Tahoe. Taco Bell gives me the statistic to say it is the largest freshwater lake. Thank you for that, Taco Bell. College for Love says, I got married in Tahoe, such a special place. Yes, lots of people saying they second going to Tahoe. Taco Bell, so if you ever get the chance, drive from Reno to Vegas on Highway 95, 7 hours of desolation really puts the vast state of Nevada into perspective. As someone who likes to explore the country, it's probably something I'll do eventually. Probably not with OC Girl, the Curious Princess, because they would get bored. 7 hours of car time with nothing to do, and probably not a lot of YouTube kids to watch on that 7-hour drive either. The Train Hopper says Tahoe is so deep, its deepest point is 90 feet below Carson City at the base of the Sierras. That's an interesting data point. Thank you so much for that, Train Hopper. All right, so overall, Las Vegas or Reno? Las Vegas is ideal for those who are seeking a glitzy, over-the-top gambling and entertainment experience with a focus on luxury and high stakes, and it's family-friendly too. Yes, it really is. A lot of people say, like, Chris, is it really family-friendly? If you want to know more about that, you can watch my video all about is Las Vegas friendly for kids, which my thesis is, yes, it is. Reno is a good option for the budget-minded traveler who want a more traditional casino experience with access to outdoor activities and a more relaxed atmosphere that is just 45 minutes from Lake Tahoe. Oh, one last thing about Reno, so again, to characterize this place for you, is one of their like top tier attractions in downtown Reno. On the side of one of the hotels is the world's tallest outdoor climbing wall. Like to climb outside, you get like rigged up and you climb up it. But again, attracting the outdoorsy vibe, people who are going the outdoors, they're going to be stopping in Reno on their way to Lake Tahoe, on their way back. And so like they want to climb while they're there. And so why not climb up a hotel? Sounds good to me. All right, let's go to Q&A time.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, so Zachary Smith says, to me, the tipping point is that Las Vegas has the Circus Motor Lodge or Manor Rooms. Yes, is that the part that makes it more appealable to you because you want to go there and see the roaches? Or Wavy says, fun fact, Tahoe is further west than Los Angeles is. If you look at the state of California, kind of angles like that as it goes north. So interesting tidbit. JK gives a second to you can travel from San Francisco to Reno, Tahoe by train. That is a plus for the Reno, Tahoe area. College Full of Love says, if you had to live in one of those cities, which would you choose? I would choose Las Vegas. I'm not leaving California anytime soon, but I like all of the world-class stuff in Vegas, and I feel like I would never get bored. Certainly the outdoorsy person in me likes all of that stuff in and around Reno of nature. I just think I'd have to like get out and do more of my outdoor activities like at night in Vegas in the summer, something like that. Taco Bell $5 box says Las Vegas Circus has the Adventure Dome, which is kind of cool. The Adventure Dome is pretty cool indeed. James says, would you go back to Reno again? I would absolutely go back to Reno again on my way to Lake Tahoe. Because I've done it every other time I've done Lake Tahoe, I've done it through Sacramento. And Reno really is a closer, easier airport, on-site rental cars. Like, I liked the experience from going to Reno to Tahoe, and I liked spending sort of my, like, couple days on the way in and the way out. It was really interesting to see. Like, I went through all of the major casinos to be like, what's this one look like? What's this one look like? And what's this one look like? And if I were to stay at one of those big casino hotels, I would choose the Grand Sierra Resort. Not having stayed in any of them, so I have no idea what the rooms look like, but just like the vibe of the place, that one seemed the most normal. Aha. Yip Animation says I should consider doing a Lake Tahoe versus Mammoth versus Big Bear video. All right, I will put that one on the idea list. Thank you. Daryl says Tahoe has its own airport, but like it's tiny, right? Like it's not like it's not like a real consumer airport. You know, they get like private jets. My dad, Electric Rick, asks if I've done any bowling recently. I have not done much bowling recently. I think the last time I bowled, I'm gonna guess 8 years ago in Virginia, in the state of Virginia, of all places, is the last bowling alley I went to. Unusual bowling alleys, in the Grand Sierra Resort, like actually these places in Reno, like some really huge bowling alleys in these casinos. I was absolutely surprised, and there was like in the basement level 2 or something of the Grand Sierra Resort, there's like 60 bowling alleys that's in there, and there was an older gentleman who came in there and he was like, "Wow, this is so much nicer than our bowling alleys back home." So I think it's a great place to bowl. Cottage Full of Love says, "Did you get the same hippie vibe in Reno that there is in Tahoe?" Not the same way. I mean, and I guess Tahoe's like big on the like keep Tahoe blue and the natural thing and that sort of stuff. It definitely spills over into Reno, but there's clearly the Nevada casino capitalistic part of Reno, which is like anything goes because we got casinos. It's the Wild West. I think Reno definitely has more of that Wild West feel to it, where Lake Tahoe definitely has more of the Aspen Vale, like Colorado, like hoity-toity mountain resort sort of feel. Taco Bell says the Grand Sierra Resort is a 5 to 7 minute drive from the airport. If you stay there, make sure to book the Sierra or Vista rooms. Avoid the Summit. Other than that, really nice hotel. Thank you for that tip, Taco Bell. Daryl says you should do a video drive on the 395. Thank you for that tip. Smitha says, yes, Reno Airport has no direct flight back east. You were right. No direct flights back east. Most of the flights are kind of like to West Coast cities. The number one route from Reno Airport is Las Vegas. Interestingly enough, that's the biggest city pair that Reno Airport has. So I think that's what a lot of people do. They fly to Vegas, then if they want to go to Reno, then they connect from Vegas to Reno, generally on Southwest Airlines. JK says, which is a more scenic drive, LA to Las Vegas or Sacramento to Reno? Sacramento to Reno for sure. The LA to Las Vegas drive, really, really kind of deserty, really kind of like most of it's really pretty boring. But Sacramento to Reno is on the Interstate 80, and it's really a beautiful drive. And adventuresome if you drive it in the snow too. You need snow chains. I've done that in a blizzard, which that was a lot of fun. The Train Hopper says, I went to school 6th to college, and bowling and laser tag at the Grand Sierra Resort was a major weekend activity. I got that vibe, Train Hopper, like in that basement or basement level 2 or something. There was like bowling, laser tag, a big arcade, an indoor playground. There was like a driving range where you could like hit balls into like a big reservoir or something like that. Like, so yes, it felt to me like a lot of the amenities of the Grand Sierra Resort catered to locals as much as they did to the people visiting there. Smitha does point out, yes, that the drive from Sacramento to Reno can get treacherous. Winter of the Donner Pass, yes, a famous spot. E-Car Book says, is my stressed out voice Jim Gaffigan inspired? I don't know. I've watched a lot of Jim Gaffigan comedy. Am I trying to channel him? Not exactly, but maybe he's just invaded my psyche. Yip Animation points out that if you're looking for bowling in Vegas, it's at South Point. It sure is on is it the second floor or the third floor? I was amazed when I went up there too, when I was exploring South Point for the first time, and I'm like, because it's one thing to have a whole bunch of bowling alleys in the basement. It's another thing to have them like a number of floors up. I was like, what just happened here? What just happened here? Jeffy says the LA to Vegas drive is fun at night. For you, maybe. I will not drive it at night. Do you like it at night because it's dark or there's no cars or you can go as fast as you want or you can't see where you're going? That's a drive I'm definitely, for me personally, I always do in the day. My goal driving from either way generally is like leave at 10 in the morning, leave LA at 10 in the morning or leave Vegas at 10 in the morning. I find the traffic is the best. I find the drive is the best. That's Chris's rule of thumb.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, crew, it is time for a giveaway of a Yellow Production shirt, as I always do on these live streams, to someone who's watching it live, if you can answer one of my questions correctly. And my question is, what is the newest casino in Reno, and what year did it open in? If you put those two things on the same line, on the same comment line, toss it out there, you will win a Yellow Productions Crew shirt shipped to you anywhere in the world. If you don't get to win one and you want to pick one up, you can pick one up at the Yellow Production shop for you or a friend. And if you wonder, Chris, when is the next live stream, you can sign up for my email list right there. The Yellow Productions update, where I'll send you an email as soon as I know what the topic is and when it is scheduled. The one I'm thinking of doing for next week, but I haven't written yet, so it could change, is the Ultimate Guide to Southwest Airlines. I talked about this one last time, so I'm kind of like zooming in on that one for next week. All right, we have...
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Congratulations to Lisa Lee. You were the first person to say the Silver Legacy in 1995, the newest casino in Reno. Lisa, that's a cool photo right there. Are you on a deserted street in Nevada? You kind of look like you're right there. All right, send me an email. You'll find it in the description, chris@yellow-productions.com. Let me know your address. Let me know your shirt size. I will get that headed out right over to you. I want to thank all of y'all for hanging out with me today, but I also want to thank all these cool people right here. These are the channel members that help support Yellow Productions on a monthly basis to create this content. And in particular, I want to recognize Shauna, Gilberto, Vicky, and Rita, who joined in the last month. Thank you so much for your support, as well as many of you that have been on this list for over a year. Thank you for your support too. As usual, I won't say goodbye because I'll see you in the next video, hopefully with less audio problems next week.